Mr. Speaker, at least 9 Israelis have been killed and many wounded in the latest wave of Palestinian terror. Nearly every day in the past few weeks, Palestinians have stabbed, shot, or run over innocent Israeli Jews. These terrorists do not care who their victims are. They want to kill as many Jews as possible. Earlier this month, Palestinian terrorists murdered an Israeli couple driving in the West Bank, right in front of their terrified children. This level of hate violence has not been seen in this region since the suicide bombings in the 2000s. So why is this happening? Why has caused this sudden outbreak of terror? The answer is really pretty simple: incitement by Palestinian leaders. Just last month, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas praised violent riots on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Yet the world press ignores his doctrine of murdering Jews. He called Palestinians killed in the clashes martyrs, fighting to keep the dirty feet of Jews out of the holy site. The Temple Mount is the holiest place in the world for Jews, but according to Israeli law, only Muslims are able to pray there. Israel has no intention of changing the status quo on Temple Mount, but Abbas simply wants to create a charged atmosphere of violence. This incitement doesn't just come from his speeches. Palestinian leaders have turned their schools, get this, Mr. Speaker, they have turned their schools into virtual incubators to raise children as terrorists. School textbooks in Palestinian schools routinely teach students that Jews are evil and have no right to live in Israel. They are not just taught to hate, they are even instructed specifically how to stab Jews in these school textbooks. And as all of this incitement translates into real violence that kills Jews and injures Israelis, what has Israel done in response? Israel has reacted how any democratic country would react to defend its people. The policy is simple. If a terrorist is wielding a knife and is spotted, Israeli security is ordered to shoot that terrorist. Israel has also increased its arrests of terrorists in the West Bank, including the co-founder of Hamas, a terrorist group. To deter more murderous attacks, Israel has destroyed the homes of terrorists who have attacked its citizens. Perhaps these terrorists will think twice about killing people, women, children, and men. And what exactly has our government said about this huge wave of Palestinian terrorism? When Israel is up against the wall fending off daily attacks, the State Department says that Israel may be using excessive force. Is killing someone who tries to kill you considered excessive force? When did self-defense become excessive force? Secretary Kerry went as far as to blame the current Palestinian violence on Israeli construction in the West Bank. Mr. Kerry is totally uninformed about what the facts are on the ground. Does Secretary Kerry mean to say that Israeli civilians deserve to be murdered? That's tantamount to saying that the 9/11 occurred because America's foreign policy in the Middle East. This dangerous logic by the State Department only encourages more terrorist attacks. It does not stop the terrorism. Nothing can justify the killing of innocents. Instead of our government supporting our Israeli allies, we're turning our backs on them. Instead, we should be standing side by side with Israel, condemning the terrorists. We should be pointing our fingers at the Palestinian leadership who have instigated all of this violence. Hold those who preach hate and violence accountable, not give them a pass. Instead of calling out Israel, the State Department should be highlighting the incitement to hatred and violence in the Palestinian curriculum, in their textbooks. We must stop making excuses for terrorists and stand up for the victims. We must stand up for all of our values and our friends and not betray them. And that includes standing with Israel. And that's just the way it is. I yield back.
The gentleman